There is a social norm that women have barriers in going up the career ladder. We too also have identified such traits. As an organization, we have come up with a few initiatives, and one such is mentoring. So we have formal structured mentoring as well as unstructured mentoring.
Insurance industry is a very fast-paced industry. We need the right talent in situations where for decision-making purposes to drive the organizations. I would like to emphasize on the fact that it shouldn't depend on a gender. It should be attracting the right talent to take an organization where it should reach its goals.
What we do is, as the sales team, they are also trying to promote the females into leadership positions. So we encourage these teams around a female leader so they drive their business.
Hi everyone, my name is Bawani and welcome to another episode of She Slays by Echelon She Slays series. In celebrating Women's History Month, this episode is quite special as I am joined by three incredible professionals from Sri Lanka Insurance Life. I have with me today Amali Gomez, the Manager of Corporate and Marketing Communications, Uththara Kapugamage, the Manager of Employee Engagement, and Bawani Hewathanthri, Manager of Finance. Welcome, ladies, to this episode of She Slays. It's a privilege to have you here and to learn a little bit more about the company and what the company is doing towards women empowerment and gender equality. And just before we dive into today's broader areas of discussion, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit about the insurance industry and why inclusion and diversity is important for growth overall. Let's start with Amali. Amali, welcome. And can you tell me a little bit about the insurance industry and your experience?
Okay, so thank you for having us. So if I move on to the industry performance, the industry has doubled its performance in terms of, if you look at the growth in the previous year, it was 8%, and then this year it was around 16% growth, which is also, if you look at life per se, the 2023 year, it was around 11%, which we have grown by 20% in this year, in 2024. And even general, the previous year, 2023, it was around 3%. And now this year, they are around 11%. So it definitely shows that the industry is growing massively. Having said that, if you look at the GDP, in terms of penetration, the insurance industry, the penetration is around 1%. And then also, if we look at the current macroeconomic conditions, I think we see improvement from where we were about a couple of years back ago. Considering, I think if we take consideration into the recent budget, we are looking at a 5% GDP growth. So with that, it will definitely boost the confidence of the investors, and then also the government is looking at things like digitization, and then encouraging SMEs, entrepreneurs, and then also if we look at free trade agreements, so they're looking at all that, so which I feel it's a good outlook for the country as a whole, plus the industry. And coming to the industry, with the challenges we faced during the pandemic, post-pandemic, and also the economic crisis, what I feel is people do understand, they realize the importance of having insurance, especially the way the medical, the health angle of things, where the prices were skyrocketing. I would like to just add this line. I think inclusion and diversity is not anymore an ethical practice. Right? It's a business imperative. I think it should be there. It should be a part of our process. It's not something like that suddenly it has to be infused into the system, or it shouldn't be an annual report initiative.
Very correct.
Right? So it has to be a part of our processes. So definitely, I think if you look at the industry, I think Bawani can also add, it was more of a male-dominant industry, but now, shifting. So if you would want to add something.
My personal opinion is that diversity and inclusion should be across all the industries, not specific to insurance, I would say. Because as Amali said, the market penetration in the insurance industry is just 1%. So in Sri Lanka, the insurance industry can have the potential to come from one person to grow up. And diversity and inclusion adds the flavor to this industry of attracting many talent across the board. Insurance industry is a very fast-paced industry, and we need the right talent in situations where for decision-making purposes to drive the organizations. And I would like to emphasize on the fact that it shouldn't depend on a gender, but it should be attracting the right talent to take an organization where it should reach its goals. So every organization, they need to have the right talent, and diversity and inclusion is something that adds to their palette.
That's very interesting, Bawani, you say that, because I also read in Economy Next 2023 reporting that over 46% of the Sri Lanka Insurance Life employees are actually women. And that shows the nature of business and the model that you carry. And like you very correctly said, it's no longer an ethical practice, but it's a business imperative. And inclusivity and growth is a non-negotiable at this point of time. So building on that, I just want to know what initiatives does Sri Lanka Insurance Life right now has for women in leadership roles, because we often know that there could be 46% of women in a company, but so many women just don't make it to the top sometimes. But it seems to be quite different at Sri Lanka Insurance, and that really brings a lot of hope. So maybe these questions for you both, Amali and Uththara. What are these initiatives that exist to support women in leadership?
Okay, so the right talent is attracted into the organization. So almost all of our initiatives gets dispersed across the organization for all genders. But in terms of understanding that there is a social norm that women have barriers in going up the career ladder, we too also have identified such traits. And as an organization, we have come up with a few initiatives, and one such is mentoring. So we have formal structured mentoring as well as unstructured mentoring, where unstructured mentoring is the most popular because that is more of, that's more of a friendly approach where, you can talk to your lady bosses. So these two would be examples. Both of the departments are head by lady bosses. So form of unstructured mentoring and, that day-to-day experience sharing, I think is one of the best ways that, that networking you get from connecting to people, that communication, understanding the other's pulse, and, understanding that heartbeat, and, helping and supporting other women to career, to progress in their careers is, I think, one of the best approaches that we at Sri Lanka Insurance have. Also, apart from that, in terms of training and development, one of our key initiatives for the organization have been succession planning. So the gender, of course, is not considered. It's just the right talent who will be developed. There'll be specified design trainings that will be given to the identified or the key talent or the potential talent that the organization identifies. So succession planning plays a major role in the organization. Apart from that, we are a pay equitable company. So whether you are male, female, or whether you come across another gender, whether that's ticked off, is not what matters. It's purely on talent. So our organization run based on merit. So if you are the person, and if you deserve it, you'll get it. That has been our philosophy. So a merit. So those initiatives, I think, have helped the organization to move forward. We have a legacy of more than 60 years. So from the inception itself, I think we as an organization has evolved, and we've come a long way, and there's a long way to go. And now we see a lot of young people joining into the organization, which means there's new talent that is coming into the organization, new blood with new ideas, and the generation now that we see has a lot of potential, and how they think, what they think is sometimes completely different. So I think with all of that, Sri Lanka Insurance Life has done a great job in, supporting the women also. But I think we haven't done any differentiation or disparity among men or women. But then that infrastructure is there for women to grow up in the career ladder. Amali, you want to add anything on it?
Yes. So as we know, the insurance industry works with the agency network. So I feel women are good salespeople by nature, because they probably understand different perspectives. I think
And also have a lot of emotional intelligence in kind of tapping
Yes.
into a person.
we were talking about diversification.
Correct.
That diversification actually brings understand what the customer needs,
Mm.
right? There's a lot of which might not be able to, I'm not trying to be a feminist or anything, but what I'm trying to say is that angles they bring in, some not in terms of female advisors, they can be homemakers. So they are homemakers, and then at the same time they do this as a part-time job. Then there are teachers, there are principals who engage after their normal work routine. So likewise, there are quite a number of females who get involved. So to encourage them, for the sales team, it was introduced a couple of years back, Superwoman, where the female advisors were given a scheme to perform during the month of March. We launched it in the month of March. And then that entire month, there's a competition running. And after a couple of months, of course, after looking at the results, then they have been rewarded for that. And at the same time, as the sales team, they are also trying to promote the females into leadership positions. So if you look at the structure of distribution, there are team leaders, group leaders, etc., etc. So then there are branch managers, regional managers. So what we do is we try to encourage females to be lead a team. So one of the initiatives where we do have, in addition to branches, we do have small customer contact points. We call it agency business development centers. So we encourage these female teams around a female leader. So they are being assigned a small customer contact center, as in a agency business development center where they drive their business. So likewise, females have been encouraged, and it's actually not a good to feel factor, but it's encouraging to see MDRT, that is $1 Million Roundtable. That's one of the highest achievements a life insurance advisor can have. And then there are categories as in MDRT membership, then you have court of table, and then the highest level is TOT. So last year, that is table of the top. So we had produced 5 of them, and out of the 5, 3 were females. So they do really drive. And like I said, they see the customer needs in a different angle. So in that way, what we feel is, like Uththara said, we are over 60 years. We might be termed as a traditional government organization, but it's actually not the case.
That's very interesting to hear, because I hear from both of you that there are initiatives not just to push women forward, but also to get women into the industry and provide them with these skill sets, the empowerment required to go out there and perform. And then not only are they rewarded after that, but they're also recognized for their talent. And that, I think, covers the whole cyclical notion of, bringing women in and kind of closing that gender gap, which Sri Lanka is known for. So I'm happy to hear that about Sri Lanka Insurance Life. And because we spoke so much about women and women's empowerment within the company, again, merit-based, but being a woman is never an impediment. I want to also get a little bit personal with each one of you to speak a little bit about your specific roles, and you yourselves are heading specific departments. What are your achievements and contributions to driving a business success and also empowering other women? Maybe we'll start with Bawani, because she's been quite a bit.
Okay, so I joined SLIC like 10 months ago, where the reason why I joined SLIC was like the insurance industry is going to, the way how we do the reporting in terms of financial statement preparation is changing. So we are governed by standards, and that is a standard change that is going to be impacted from 26 January onwards. So for that, as a finance team, we need to go with that change. So as part of that initiative, I was onboarded as a manager to drive this IFRS 17. We call the standard change as the IFRS 17 change in Sri Lanka Insurance Life. So when I joined here, I had to I am working across the different stakeholders to do the changes that is necessary for us to go ahead with the suggestions in the standard itself. And in the industry, we say that this is one of the hardest standards to implement, and I would say so. For that, they are attracting new pool, and as part of that, I joined. So we have to make sure that we are ready by 2026 to prepare financial statements as per that guideline. So this is where we are working with finance, actuaries, and IT, and as well as the operation teams to come across and enforce the differences, the changes that we are making as per the guideline set. And this is where I coordinate with different stakeholders to make a success of the implementation of IFRS 17 at SLIC Life.
Wow, Bawani, honestly, I'm so impressed because, in finance, you often see men. And that's why we have the popularly coined term finance bro. But I'm just so happy to kind of have a woman speak through, these protocols, these standards, and the fact that you're leading a team. So kudos to you on that. And building on your story, I also want to jump to Uththara to sort of ask you a little bit about your role and your achievements and contribution to the company.
Okay, so speaking of Sri Lanka Insurance Life Company, so I'm also quite a new member to the company. So it's been about 5 months now since I've joined. So the experience I've had in the 5 months, every day is a new day. So a lot of changes, the different activities that are running out, and also I've joined in as managed employee engagement. So one might think Sri Lanka Insurance, why does it need a managed employee engagement? Because it's a state-owned, mostly a state-owned company, and why do you need someone like that? So in my role, I think I've got the pleasure of working with almost all the staff in the organization, because my role itself entails where I have to roll out employee engagement initiatives. So this is the place where that change of culture, change of mindset comes in place. So it has been a privilege for me also to get involved in such activities, from the inception itself, plan it out, understand. So first of all, to understand the requirement, to plan it out, and then roll out initiatives that will foster a culture of harmony and also peace in the organization. And also Sri Lanka Insurance employees are hardworking, so having a culture where there is a bit of fun too, because insurance industry is a very dynamic industry. It's always, it changes in a very fast pace. And then to ensure that our employees are ready to take on that challenge, and also to ensure that they have that, component where they enjoy being at work also, that has been a part of my role. Apart from that, stuff like yoga, where predominantly it's women who participate. It's open for all, but it's predominantly women who participate. So stuff like that, and then mental health campaigns and stuff like that. It also, adds value into the person who is working, because, every person goes through different challenges in life, and, we never know what you are going through one day and what you go through the other day. So we as an organization make people ready to face challenges, and also is there as an organization to support employees when it's required. So I think with all of that, we've been able to do a great job so far. It's just 4 months, but I think I'm completely enjoying it.
I'm really happy to hear that there's also a big component of kind of, tapping into an employee's personal life and making sure that they're comfortable both in and outside of work, and a lot of women taking part in these initiatives. What about you, Amali? What about your role and your achievements and the contribution to the company? You are kind of the face of the company's public eye.
Thanks. So I'm, like I said, I'm heading the communications team, marketing and communications. So under my purview, there are quite a bit of things that's happening. So we have the branding communication side of things, brand communication. And then we have the PR. And then we also have the brand activations, that is the below the line activations. And then we have the digital marketing, and then also CSR. So I have a wider spectrum of area that I'm looking into, which I have team members for. And I have a very diverse team, I would say, in terms of gender and in terms of age. So there are people who have been here for a long time, almost closer to 20 years also, some of them. But it has been a great journey, because for me, like Uththara said, I also like moving around people. So when I joined about 2 years back, so you feel like when you join SLIC, like it's a humongous place you join to with different cultures. You have a perception in mind because you're joining a government organization.
And it's also the largest insurance company in the country, right?
Yeah, it's the largest in terms of strength and stability. So what I felt was, one thing, it was a very welcoming culture. Probably because how the marketing team also works, and otherwise also. So in terms of driving for growth, my contribution mostly is my entire team, a marketing communications team. I think mainly it's top of the mind brand recall. So we work for that, and to add value to the brand, to increase our brand value. And then also in terms of CSR and all that, actually it reflects on the awards we win. So we have been, for the 7th year, we have won the most loved life insurance brand. So all our work in terms of branding reflects there. And at the same time, it is, I feel, more of a personal achievement also. Of course, it was for the company and the industry. Last year we had the first International Insurance Summit, which was headed by our group CEO. In terms of, he's also the president of the Insurance Association of Sri Lanka. So we were part of the core team, and I was actually spearheading the entire project. So like I said, one of the biggest achievements is, for me personally, last year was the International Insurance Summit, which was actually very well received in the country by the industry and also in the region.
That's very interesting to hear, because you are not just also engaging within the company, but there's also so much more that you do within your role to a broader, I feel like, a more Sri Lankan and also regional and even an international audience. So kudos to you. With all the great inspirational stories that I've heard around this table, I also want to also talk a little bit about the challenges that confront women in the insurance industry. Because like we said, it used to be, or could be still in some parts, male dominated, and we are all operating in a very male dominated society. What are the specific challenges that you see? And this question is for anyone who wants to answer, but maybe we can start with Bawani. What can be done to ensure that women have great opportunities?
So I would first go with the challenges that we have been facing. So I feel like in the insurance industry, or in any industry, we have this the societal and the cultural barriers that where we feel like women are not capable of performing such tasks and everything. So I believe it is one of the challenge that we have as we are facing it right now. And at certain point in this interview, you took up the point that in the finance, it's a male dominant industry. Now it's changing things. So to that point, in Sri Lanka Insurance Life Limited, my ACFO is a lady boss. So I look up to her at certain point in my career as well, how she carries herself in this organization itself. Totally different for me, because I was coming from a private sector. Joining to the corporation culture was different. So navigating that journey itself was helped through people around me as well at certain point. So one of the challenge is the cultural norm that we are facing as women in Sri Lanka. And the other thing is that I believe is like, how can we manage our career progression being a woman at certain point in our life? Because we talk about the equal opportunities, giving equal opportunities, but we also know as women we have a transition phase where we have to go to the motherhood at certain point, we have to take leave, and that change, how does it support to us as women, also something that we need to talk about in open forum, I believe. And the finance department is comprised of more women actually, not to say it's gender biased or anything like that, including our ACFO and the managers there, we all are women, so we understand the needs. So from the day that I joined, I see the differences, that the impacts that has been created and the stories that have been heard so far. They're telling these are the things has been done, but now it's changing. And I think one of the reasons why we all are sitting around this table, it's also things has been changing drastically in this industry itself and in SLIC life as well.
Very interesting insights. And also you brought a really important point, and that's the fact that women go through so much in life in different phases in comparison to men, and there's sometimes challenges that women face in navigating a career through those changes, motherhood being one. In Sri Lanka, unpaid care work is a big burden of women, which takes them out of work. And in the context of that, what do you see as challenges for women?
So I think, as Bawani correctly mentioned, the cultural and the societal norms that we have plays a major role. Apart from that, we also see the trend in some organizations that I haven't seen that in the insurance industry per se, but in the country. And I think this is mostly predominant in the European and the American continents, where there is a huge gender pay gap. So I think Sri Lanka as a country as a whole has progressed a lot, where we don't have that gender pay gap. Me coming from an HR perspective, I think in terms of if an organization encourages even something like that, I think that would be a great disadvantage to the society as a whole, because it's talent that should win at the end of the day, because it's talent or that person's ability to achieve something far beyond that will give the company or the country that leverage to move forward as a united front. So we as an organization, I think we don't have that gender pay gap issue at all, because everything is based on merit. And also I think advocating for policies for change also has been one of the forefront that Sri Lanka insurance life has been. So we are still on the preliminary phases of understanding any issues that arises, or to project what type of policy changes that we as an organization needs to do. But
this includes gender-based policies as well?
Yes. So we are still in the preliminary phases of it, but as an organization as a whole, I think in terms of policies and being a structural organization, we have moved far ahead when compared to 10-15 years back. So there is processes and policies in place, in case of an emergency, what needs to be run down and things like that. So I think that policy part also advocates for a great deal in terms of challenges that women face in general. We as an organization also have gone through a lot and then have recovered and understood where we want to go. And I think even our policies in terms of a country, I think we are aligning in that same direction.
That's very interesting to hear, and I want to pick a little bit on it, because especially you have an employee engagement strategy that addresses career progression and work-life balance for women. If you can share a little bit also on that.
Okay, so in terms of a strategy per se, our strategies are all not gender biased, but the strategy will go for everyone. So but in that strategy, the strategy is built on different pillars, where we focus on identifying how we as an organization will have to move forward in the perspective of employee engagement. So in terms of policy, so before I move on to the strategy part per se, in terms of policy, we have a zero tolerance policy for sexual harassment. Sexual harassment will not be tolerated at any cost. So that is one of the key policies that we have. And also there is no form of discrimination in the organization. Discrimination also will not be tolerated within the organization, may it be from a colleague. And also in terms of work-life balance, I think we are doing a lot of wellness initiatives.
You said there was yoga as well.
So we have yoga, and then there is a lot of initiative that is planned out throughout the organization, throughout the year. We've developed an engagement calendar. There's a separate engagement committee which has been established. So the engagement committee comprises of members from different departments, so that it's not just HR who is pushing it out.
That's very important, isn't it?
It's not just an HR initiative. Everyone's take on it is taken into consideration. So we as a team will roll out things that we have for the employees. So we've partnered with external organizations where, they help women particularly in understanding what they're going through, because the journey that women go through in different phases, it's quite different. Things like that, we've partnered with external organizations, so that support is there.
So what I'm hearing from you is that it's very holistic, and spreads across. And I also read this year, I think Sri Lanka Insurance Life has established offices in various parts of the country, including Point Pedro, which also is an office, I think, run by a woman or something of that nature, which was interesting to me to understand also how inclusive and diverse the space is. And in a time where diversity, equity, and inclusion is kind of considered to be blasphemous words in the so-called progressive West, we see a state-owned corporation making changes, making those progressive moves in ensuring that the company is open to all. I think with that, I would go to Bawani to speak a little bit about, what does Sri Lanka Insurance Life, because you yourself said you also have a female boss, for women in leadership, what do Sri Lanka Insurance Life really foster to make sure that the culture is gender diverse and that's accommodating?
So when I've initially joined SLIC, I was very skeptical. Will I be able to fit into this culture? Would I survive in this culture? How this SLIC is providing opportunities for women leadership per se, I would say we have a culture that fosters the women leadership, and we have the supportives. Women are given equal opportunities to present ourselves in various committees. So for an example, in board meetings and even for executive committee meetings, and more than representation itself, we feel like our ideas, the things that we have been expressing has been heard in that committees itself. And women representation across the corporate ladder is also been very significant. We have managers, we have, I think, a very blended organization where we see both managers and senior managers and executives. We have a very balanced representation when it comes to the to gender as well. And for us to thrive, we have a social, I would say, a safety net also, in a way that we can look up to our superiors and how things to be done. These people would support you, they will teach you everything. So we get the mentorship in order for us to progress in our career as well. So we have that opportunity at SLIC Life. Other thing is, now the trend has been set in where this equal opportunities has been given to the people there. My personal belief is like a position or a vacancy or different types of a task, it shouldn't be based on gender. It should be based on the person's ability to thrive and execute that task. And that is where, like, when I was joined for this company, and also as Uththara told, we have the equity neutral policies that we don't emphasize on the fact that we are male or female, so we don't have the gender biasness there. So it's also provides a room and an opportunity for women to thrive in their career as well. The SLIC provides that opportunity for us to take the leads and somehow to manage the work, and also the ability, the flexibility to work around the clock to make sure that we achieve our task as well, while we go ahead with our personal goals as well. So that covers the part where how the leadership is, how women leadership is empowered in SLIC. So when it comes to the challenges that we face for the diversity, again, I would say it is mainly because of like our inability for the change. So in any organization, we face that the change is, if it's something new, first thing that we do is we resist. We say we are not going to do it. So in many organizations, and being a state-owned enterprise also, the resistance part is there. But now the mindset is changing. We are evolving. So it's a good part of being there. Long ago, we had the mindset like, okay, the women cannot be a sales agent because of the ability to approach the other people, how it will be perceived by the society, because insurance industry is where like you need to talk to a customer and you have to have an impactful impact on that person to perceive that person to buy a policy from us. So for that, I believe the women are not encouraged at certain point in the history, but now the trend has been offsetting, where we are promoting irrespective of the gender, we are promoting your ability, your capability to do a task.
Thank you. That's very beautiful words also, because one thing that you mentioned about, women being considered previously not suitable for salesperson, and it's interesting that you say that, because women were also once upon a time said not so good with numbers, but we have a finance manager here with us today. So thank you for sharing those very interesting perspectives. And to wrap up the discussion today and kind of bring everything together, I want to sort of go to Amali back again to speak of, leadership in Sri Lanka's insurance sector, or, leadership in general. Is it influenced by gender, or is it a universal skill? How does this apply to your organization and the broad industry?
Yeah, so for me, I think I always feel it's a universal skill. It is your ability and how you want to do things and how much you want to thrive. That is what will take you to leadership, and not gender. So I think one thing I would like to add, I think we were talking about challenges also. So sometimes that challenge can be within you also. You might think others you're trying to suppress you or something, but
or maybe you're like an imposter syndrome,
exactly,
which women have. Many
yes,
women have.
Yes, you might feel, will I be able to do it? I guess.
Am I good enough?
Am I good enough? Because you tend to compare yourself with another person, or maybe if I be very straightforward, you might try to compare yourself with a male colleague, which shouldn't be the case. I think that is certain barriers are within ourselves. So that needs to be braked. That has to be put aside. And another important point I want to make, since we are talking about women empowerment and all that, and I think it, as a society, it shouldn't be the workplace where we are starting to address this. This has to start from home and school, right? If your school, your friends, everybody at home is also made to understand females are equally important. I think just on a very lighter note, we might crack a joke. We crack these kitchen jokes sometimes. But do you know, Mom? Your dad might just, it can be out of it can be just a joke actually, not anything meant or anything. But a little kid who is listening to it, it will go into his head,
and a stereotype is born.
And then once they grow up, they think, my mom is also like this, so I made the same joke to my girlfriend, later on my school friend. And you just continue that, right? And then you go to school, and again, what do you know? What can you do? True, there are certain things a female can do. There are certain things a male can do. I think that's by nature, right? So I think, for an example, we were talking about equal pay and all that. So there can be, let's say, an engineer, a female engineer who is at a site, at a construction site, or a female engineer at office. Obviously, there'll be a pay difference because that person on a construction site has a much bigger risk. And so there can be those disparities, which I feel is okay. And I don't think we should overly go. And sometimes feminism is also, I think they're using it sometimes in the wrong places also. So we need to have that balance as a society. So like I said, coming back to the question you raised to me, what I feel is it's purely your ability, your talent, and also diversity brings in that culture where you can foster your teammates, nurture your teammates, and also you will bring different perspectives. I think there are things a male can be good at, there are things a female can be good at. But end of the day, how you issue a problem would be same. I mean, the problem is not going to be, okay, you're a female, your problem is going to be different. And for a male, the problem. For an example, let's say a sales target. Sales target is a sales target, right? It's not going to differ because you're a female, your target is going to be low. Which again, you're not talking about equality then, right? You're going to be, the male person is going to be at a disadvantage then. So it is, what I feel is it's pure ability, your interest in driving yourself, what is your career progress, what you want from yourself. So I think already both Bawani and Uththara were speaking about it. For me, of course, I am under a boss who lives it by example. She's a female boss. So she has her way of supporting everybody. And again, with her also, it's not like that, okay, you're a female, I have a little bit of more concern towards you. No, nothing like that. Usually, we are one of the few companies, I would say, in the public sector, as a government organization that works with key performance indicators, KPIs, performance management. So that I think that actually removes a lot of biasness, because you're going by the numbers and your performance and how you're evaluated. And you are evaluated based on your performance. So that will actually remove a lot of, unnecessary
Gender-based bias.
Gender-based bias. So yeah, basically I would want to say, I would like to end my conversation saying leadership is definitely on ability and your skill and your competencies and how much you want to thrive in your role as a leader. And it has nothing to do with gender.
Thank you very much, ladies, for that interesting discussion. And I think if I may wrap up on behalf of all of you, 3 things that came up within the conversation. One is the fact that your organization promotes a culture, a set of values that encourages women, be it in any capacity, to hone their skills and to be mentored to take on leadership roles. And also, secondly, to understand that there is a personal life to all employees, not just women. And that takes away a lot of barriers women have societally to progress in their career. And lastly, in terms of leadership, to remove biases, be it on gender, and largely biases that remove women from management positions, to really take on tasks based on their talent. So if I may wrap it up in that regard, thank you very much for this conversation. And I hope you slay at work. Continue to slay at work the way you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
It was a pleasure talking to you.